Okay, fine. I'm seeing the slide now.
Hello and welcome to the FMCC webinar, Is Terrorism in Your FM Plan? Presented by Ola Jagun. I'm Joshua Amos, the component liaison for the FMCC. Everyone has been muted for audio quality, and this webinar is being recorded. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the question box, and we'll go over them during the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. Also, I'd like everyone to know if you do want a PDF copy of the PowerPoint, you can download it now on your control panel under the handout section. The FMCC provides many services to the FM community, such as Ask the Expert, Find a Consultant, Locate a Speaker, and online educational resources. You may find more information at their website, fmcc.ifma.org. And as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors. And I want to thank everyone for joining us for World FM Day, which we're actually kind of expanded to World FM Week this year. So I want to thank everyone for joining us, and the FMCC has put together a great program of over 30 sessions with representation throughout the world. As today's presentation is a great example with Stephen in Nigeria. And here's a snapshot of some of the presenters that are going to be presenting over the course of the next few days. And if you have time in your schedule, I would encourage you to come join us because there are some great presentations going to be taking place. And I'm happy to introduce our presenter today, Stephen Ola Jagun. He is the principal partner of Jagun Associates, and he's also a graduate of the estate management and holds a master's degree in project manager from the University of Lagos. He's a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. He's a CFM. He's also an FRIX with the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. He is the first African fellow here at IFMA. He's also a past president of the Lagos chapter. He is a qualified instructor, and he presents at many of our international conferences. And he was awarded the 2015 IFMA International Distinguished Member Professional of the Year. I'm happy to go ahead and turn it over to Stephen. Stephen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joshua. It's a pleasure speaking. Welcome everyone to this webinar. Our learning objectives for today. Number one, we want to examine the implication of terrorism on FM. And then we'll look at when should practitioners incorporate terrorism in our assignments. The third one is that you need
So Stephen? So we'll give him a minute. Sounds like his internet cut out. We'll give him just a moment to see if he's still online, so that's a good sign. See if his audio will come back on. He just dropped offline. Okay, we'll give him just a moment to get back on. I thank everyone for your patience. It's the joy of running these things internationally. I'm sure once he gets back on, it'll be a great presentation. And also, let me see if I can bring up, while we're waiting for him to come back on, we can see what some of our upcoming sessions are going to be later on today. So we have also coming up the benefit of the month, which will be using analytics to measure the organization's FM performance with Stephen Brown, David Reynolds, and Marcus Grohl. That should be a great presentation. Where are we so far today? Well, Occam and Jeff Williams will be coming on later today with a great presentation. So we have some great names coming up. And you can find these on the FMCC website. They actually have a special website, fmcc-workplace.com. I'd encourage you to go there. Are you back, Stephen?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll get the slides back on. Okay, go ahead.
The success of facility management is to make the built environment functional. One of the key ways to achieve this success is to have a master plan in place. Otherwise, we call a strategic facility plan. After performing all the various gap analysis and coming up with relevant recommendations, one of the definite areas we focus on is security. But in planning for security, most times we overlook the effect of terrorism on our facilities. Next slide, please, Joshua. Recent events unfolding the world over have shown that terrorism is making a huge inroad into the workplace. And this is called by people who feel they want to show their anger against some leaders, some nations, and directly or indirectly, facilities bear the brunt of these attacks. And this is virtually become a daily occurrence. Next slide, Joshua. The onus lies on the next slide, Joshua. Yeah, the onus lies on the facility manager to ensure that the users of their facilities are not afraid. And to achieve this, it must be deliberately planned for. When we're talking about terrorism, most times we think about airports, event centers, but in reality, none of our facilities are immune, because terrorists try to look for soft targets. Next slide, Joshua. Before September 11, most of these airports and event centers did not really have terrorism on their FM plan. If they have in detail. In recent times, we know how we have been embarrassed at airports, facing delays, particularly on international routes. But lately, we see airports now, and most of these event centers with security in place to deter terrorists. Next slide. Not only are facilities that are facing this, even our data are not safe. JLL, in their report of 2015, said in a matter of 1 year, there had been 56% increase in politically motivated cyber attacks and 100% increase in criminal attacks. Last week, there was a ransomware that affected almost 150 countries. Even the healthcare in England virtually had to shut down because of this attack. It was not planned for. because you will see that those who went for medical check have to be sent out or transferred to other facilities. As facility managers, we should know that these effects are real. Next slide. These effects and threats may not affect us directly, but our neighbors may be the target. And in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, we have an adage that says an attack on the nose has its effect on the eyes. What it means is that when you attack a neighbor, those who are around are not immune. In the September 11 attack, although the Twin Towers were the buildings attacked, definitely several facilities around them could not do anything for months. Next slide. What are the effects of terrorism on facility managers? The first one is the fact that new tenants and existing ones will move away from probable targets. If somebody wants to move to a new facility and they do not feel safe, they will definitely not move to your facility, either residential, commercial, or industrial. Or they feel that facilities around you can be subject of attack. Number two, because of the fear of terrorism, it takes longer time to assess some facilities because of the routine security one needs to go through. And this causes a lot of time loss. This could discourage people coming into your facility. For example, when these new checks were introduced at the airport, at the airports, sometimes it could take almost an hour to pass through security. That on its own can discourage one that want to fly for 45 minutes. Because I know some people who would rather go to France from London by rail than going to the airport. Because by the time you go through the security, the person who went by rail probably will be at Paris. So it takes a longer time to assess some facilities. And it could be a discouragement to those who want to visit those facilities. It could be a play center, a stadium, a theater, whatever facilities be. If we did not plan properly from the beginning, it's going to take longer time than necessary to assess such facilities. And that could discourage those who want to invite to such facilities. Another effect of facility management is the increased cost of security, because when facilities are attacked, there's need to now increase security presence, and it costs much money than what was planned for. there will be several machines that will have to be brought in, and that is going to increase our cost of security. Another effect of terrorism in the workplace is staff redundancy. By this, I mean, when a facility is attacked, definitely there will be downtime. When there is downtime, definitely most staff will not be able to work. Probably only critical and priority staff will be on duty. And then you need to pay salaries. So the only other option available to run away from this will probably be to outsource some of the assignments so that this downtime, the cost of the downtime is shared with the outsourcing company. But whatever happens, either the company itself or the outsource company, they will have to pay the staff for that period of redundancy. Another effect of terrorism on the workplace is the sudden modification we have to do to our designs. In most cases, we have to change the doors we have, change the windows. Most of the essential services have to be shut down. And then it on its own has its own cost implication. Another effect of terrorism on the workplace, like I've mentioned before, is that our data centers are no longer safe. They are subject of attack. From the little we have seen last week, and security experts are still putting things together, several companies are affected for ransom. Next slide. In view of all these negative effects of terrorism on the workplace, so when should we incorporate terrorism on our FM plan? I think the answer is obvious. Directly from the drawing board. As we are planning and looking at all the gaps on ground, and we are planning for our facility, we must plan also for terrorism, because it's taking the front burner now. If we don't plan for terrorism right from the planning stage, it could be very expensive. Because, like I mentioned before, when it comes suddenly, we have to get so many security people on board, and because it's an urgent requirement and urgent request, we have to pay a premium to be able to get their necessary attention. Another thing that will happen if terrorism is not incorporated earlier enough is that it may alter our plans completely. So from the beginning, we must incorporate it to ensure where should we take appropriate measures. Another thing that will happen if terrorism is not incorporated early is that our operations may be disrupted, and there could be serious consequences on our profit level. Next is the fact that if the cost implication and the downtime is high, it will result in loss of revenue. And most likely the corporation will have to declare a loss because proper planning was not done. Another effect of not incorporating terrorism early is the fact that you may have a very beautiful facade, beautiful entrance, but when you are now liable to be attacked and you have to incorporate changes to your design, I mean the physical design of the workplace, it could disfigure the aesthetic of the building. The list is quite endless. Next slide. What should we do there? Aside the fact that we plan on our own, we need to cooperate with government agencies. Because definitely we have several government security agencies that are keeping watch and trailing all these terrorist plans. As a plan, we need to work along with them so that they will tell us what and what we need to incorporate into our plans. Just looking at your design or your FM security plan, the government agencies can tell you what and what you need to add to it. The other people that we need to collaborate with includes our neighbors, because the cost of maintaining this could be very high. Aside the fact that they could be high, if you have incorporated terrorism in your own plan, if they don't have, an attack on their facility may disrupt your own services. So you need to be on the same page with your neighbors, particularly the high-end sub-targets. Another group that we need to collaborate with as stakeholders in this assignment are our service providers. When we talk about service providers, most times they are the ones that do background checks on their staff. If we don't plan along with them, we may actually have a situation where the service provider may have employed a terrorist, and which will now be an inroad into your facility. We need to collaborate with those service providers to ensure that they are on the same page with us. Another set of people that we need to collaborate with are the users of our facilities, which includes our own staff, so that they don't take chances. Everybody should be security conscious. Likewise, for those who are visiting our facilities, they need to agree with us on the need for some of the measures we are going to put in place. If they don't agree with us, or they are not part of what we are doing, they could actually constitute a security breach on our system. In conclusion, the way things are going now, it's very obvious that not only is security a big issue, it is very possible that security may end up becoming a competency, or at best, it could be the scope of emergency preparedness and business continuity have to be widened to take care of such issues, because by the day we realize that these attacks are getting more frequent than normal, and they are even attacking places that we least expect them to focus on. So nobody is immune. It is very important and highly necessary that as we plan and put together our master plan in the FM plan, we must ensure that we have terrorism at the back of our mind, not only for the brick and mortar, but also for our data and for the security of the people that are going to use our facility. Else, the work will become impossible, and that could be detrimental and also counterproductive. I want to thank you for listening. I want to have more time now for question and answer, and I think Joshua is online.
Yes, and if you do have any questions, please type them into the question box, and I'll be happy to present them to Stephen. I'll give you all a moment to do that. Give me one moment to bring up the questions. One question is, in Africa, is VHF radio, which operates independent of the internet, in use for FM voice and data communications? And also, are other means of communication resilience in use?
When we talk about Africa, there are several countries in Africa. I'm currently in Nigeria. In Nigeria, we have the GSM system, the mobile system, and we also have, several access to the internet. For example, in Nigeria, in the northeastern part, where there are some attacks, what the security system have done is that once in a while, they shut down the mobile system there so that these terrorists cannot communicate. But they realize that they're using the communication system to talk to themselves. And sometimes too, the internet system in those areas may be shut down. I don't know if that answered the question.
Great, thank you. We'll just give it a moment longer, see if there's any other questions come in. And then while we're waiting to see if any other questions come in, I hear just some upcoming coming webinars in about an hour and a half. We have another one from Neil Shaw with RICS, The Futures Are Changing the World, one with Occam and Jeff Williams. So we have quite a few going throughout the day, so I encourage you to attend those. And I also want to let you know that the FMCC does have an app. You can download it at Google Play or iTunes. I encourage you to do that. And then also the FMCC STAG group is also always looking for volunteers. If you have an idea or want to write a white paper, present a webinar, be part of a podcast, etc., the FMCC is always looking for volunteers. Please reach out to Ricardo. His contact information is on the slide on your screen currently, and we would love to have you participate with us. And as always, the FMCC does like to let everybody know that there are other councils and communities in the IFMA family and that they're a great resource. And I don't see any other questions coming in. Stephen, did you have any closing comments?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for listening, and I want to encourage fellow facility managers all over the world to ensure that the main focus is to make our facilities functional and useful. In achieving that goal, we need to make sure that security is on the hot burner. In making the security a good issue, we need to plan against terrorist attacks because they could be very expensive if they are not planned for. Like I said last week, the attack on the system, initially I thought it was only in London. I was shocked to realize that it affected almost 150 countries and about 200,000 users. You can imagine the effect it will have on the businesses. That is why there's need to plan against such attacks so that business can continue and our facilities can be functional and at the least risk to our system and also our users. In that way, I want to say thank you to FMCC for allowing me this time, and so thank you for listening. Thank you, Joshua.
You're welcome, and thank you, Stephen, for a great presentation. And yes, I agree. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Have a great World FM Day, everybody. Bye-bye.